Hello, friends! This is a book summary for the story titled The Chronicles of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. The summary and book are appropriate for children older than 7 years and parents who enjoy reading. Ronan Dodds recites this book summary for Rather Listen A11Y.
Enjoy! For more stories, please like and subscribe.
A summary of C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. I was recently blessed to reread the first of the Narnia novels written by C.S. Lewis, which was actually one of the later novels in terms of when it was written. But in the chronology of the fictional world, it comes first. I hesitate to call it a fictional world, although I know it is, because even though it is fictional, it is nonetheless true. The Magician's Nephew has always been my favourite of the novels, although I never understood it until this most recent reading, and even then I suspect there are aspects of it that I am yet to understand. It is layered like scripture, with meaning beyond the surface text, and I know that I will return to it again and again through my life. The first thing that struck me this time round was that this is a book about the occult and evil magic. These are things that generally children should be kept away from. However, in the hands of C.S. Lewis, your children are safe. He gives just enough information to let your children know that the occult is real and that one must do one's best to keep well away from it. The other message is that there are forces more powerful than evil magic which can and will protect us. But to be protected fully, we must place our trust in Aslan, which is of course a different name for the God of the Hebrews and of Christians. I will take you through each of these chapter headings and try my best to describe the journey this novel takes us on as briefly as possible. It begins with The Wrong Door, which opens with a meeting between two children who are neighbours, Polly Plummer and Diggory Kirk. When we first meet them, Diggory is at the limit of what he can take, and he blurts out the most heartfelt lament about the things that are troubling him in his life. His mother lies sick in bed in the great terraced London house in which he lives, and his strange uncle troubles him, although the full extent of his uncle's nature is not yet fully clear to him, nor was it to me, even though I have read this novel multiple times. In the next chapter, called Diggory and His Uncle, we learn that Uncle Andrew is mixed up with matters of magic, as a result of the influence of his now long-dead godmother, and he boasts that she had fairy blood and that he is perhaps the last person alive who can boast they had a fairy godmother. Uncle Andrew, through his dark magic, makes the little girl Polly vanish before the eyes of Diggory, and puts Diggory in the position of having to summon up the courage to follow her into the unknown otherworlds that Uncle Andrew has sent her to. The next chapter, The Wood Between Worlds, sees Diggory finding Polly in another world, and from this wood they discover they can explore other worlds beyond. The chapter entitled The Bell and the Hammer sees Diggory commit a great sin which has disastrous results, awakening the evil queen who in later novels takes over Narnia, bringing on the winter which causes others to say, "It is always winter and never Christmas." But that is jumping ahead in the Chronicles and can be discussed another time. In chapter 5 we learn about the deplorable word, which allowed the Queen to destroy all life in the world of Charn, where she once seized power. The children know that it is very important to get away from the Queen and ensure she does not follow them to their own world. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happens in the next chapter, which is called The Beginnings of Uncle Andrew's Troubles. We will pass over those troubles because Andrew does not deserve your attention right now, and you can read about these yourself by picking up the novel. Chapter 7 is entitled What Happened at the Front Door, and tells of the shenanigans of the Queen in the strange world of London, which continue to the next chapter, The Fight at the Lamppost. The children bravely intervene in the witch's violence, for she is a witch as well as a queen, and remove her from London and take her to another world. There we are treated to the events of Chapter 9, The Founding of Narnia, in which Aslan the Lion sings the world into creation. Chapter 10 is called The First Joke and Other Matters, and I do not want to tell you about it and take from you the experience of reading it for yourself. Chapter 11 is called Diggory and His Uncle Are Both in Trouble. Here, both are subject to the judgment of Aslan, and Diggory confesses his sin which awoke the evil queen who is now at large in the new world of Narnia. He cuts through his excuses and tells the full truth to Aslan, and makes an appeal to the lion that he helps his sick mother. In Chapter 12, Strawberry's Adventure, Aslan gives Diggory a commission and sends him out to retrieve a bit of fruit from a special tree in a garden high up in the mountains of this new world. Strawberry is the name of the London horse who has ended up in Narnia alongside Polly and Diggory and some other residents of London. Chapter 13 is entitled An Unexpected Meeting, in which Diggory faces the Queen once more in the special garden and is tempted both in himself and through the Queen to steal the apple back to his own world and give it to his mother. Diggory is very tempted, but the witch makes the error of suggesting he abandon Polly to this magic world and leave without her. Diggory resolves to flee the witch and return to Aslan with the apple, though he does not know whether he has made the right decision. Chapter 14 is called The Planting of the Tree, in which Aslan commands Diggory to throw the apple into the soft ground of the riverbank, and he does so. What follows is the coronation of the first king and queen of Narnia, 2 Londoners, a son of Adam and a daughter of Eve. Aslan gives them rule over Narnia and tells them their descendants will also rule the neighbouring kingdom of Archenland. Aslan talks to Diggory about his mission to retrieve the apple and the importance of Diggory's obedience to him. It is very profound, and you really must read it from the words of C.S. Lewis because I cannot do it justice. The final chapter is called The End of This Story and the Beginning of All the Others, in which things happen for which I do not wish to be accused of giving spoilers. All I will say is that Lewis sets up beautifully the context for the next novel in the series, and the one with which most children are most familiar, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I have been as brief as possible in this short summary of the novel, and left out a lot of detail because you really must read this book yourself. If you are a child, you ought to read it with your parents, and if you are an adult, you ought to read this with your children, if you have any. But most importantly, you ought to read it.